Hello and welcome to the Porsche Cup C6 Bank MasterCard. We are ready for the second day of racing of this fourth round of the 2023 Sprint Championship. We are going to have a Carrera Cup race first, the second Carrera Cup race of this weekend, and then the second Sprint Challenge race of this weekend. Yesterday, we have a victory of Nicolas Costa in Carrera Cup, and then Eduardo Taurissano won in Sprint Challenge. We have a beautiful day in Interlagos, and we'll be following these two races here with me, Sergio Lago, and with Carlos Costa. Hello, Carlos. Good morning.
Hello, Sergio. Very big pleasure to be here with you to broadcast one more round of the Brazilian Porsche Cup Series. Good expectation for this Sunday's races. As you said, we had interesting action on track yesterday, both with qualifying and also the first races of each championship, Porsche Carrera Cup and Porsche Sprint Challenge. As you said, Nicolas Costa winning in the Porsche Carrera Cup race, a very interesting one, actually, with the main title contenders ahead of the pack. We are talking about Nicolas Costa, also Werner Neubauer, who started from pole and finished third, and also Marcel Miller, who started third and finished second. Then in the Porsche Sprint Challenge race, it was even more interesting, maybe because the guy that is doing only his second round in this championship managed to grab pole position and win the race, Eduardo Taurissano, that has been recently promoted from the school category championship, if you can say so, of Porsche Sprint Trophy. So very nice to see. Let's hear from Renata Diniz, our pit reporter. Yeah, there we heard from Renata. She says she has a good interview in the sequence. Apart from that, it's interesting to mention the air temperature in the beginning of our broadcast for these races. Yesterday, we had a very cold qualifying session. Today, air temperature around 18 degrees Celsius, as now we see replays of the first races that we had yesterday, Sergio.
Yes, we saw there Nicolas Costa, who was second in the starting lineup, getting the first position from Werner Neubauer. He took the opportunity there. Werner Neubauer didn't have a good start. There were many incidents along the racetrack. There we saw a touch received by number 9 of Edu Guedes. This was the battle for second position. Marcel Miller, who in the beginning of the race started in fourth. I mean, he got fourth after the start of the race. He was able to recuperate 2 positions over Peter Vetter, and there you saw Peter Vetter, and over Werner Neubauer. So a great second place for Marcel Miller. Werner Neubauer, as you said, Carlos finished third, and I have to highlight also Miguel Paludo, who started from 9th and finished 4th. So the 7 times champion was able to recuperate, even though the situation, Carlos, is not good in the championship for Miguel Paludo. He now is 19 points behind Nicolas Costa. Nicolas Costa, who leads the championship by 13 points over Marcel Miller. There we had the Sprint Challenge race. Antonella Bassani, a great start, getting first from Eduardo Taurissano. But then Taurissano was able to recuperate over Antonella Bassani. After the race, she said she didn't resist because she's thinking about the championship. And as you mentioned, Carlos, Taurissano just started competing in the last round in Goiânia. So he's not really in any battle for the championship. Anyway, it wasn't a very eventful race. We have 2 entrances of the safety car. And the race ended up finishing under the safety car. We had the checkered flag, Carlos, together with the yellow flag. But Eduardo Taurissano there, great victory for him.
Yeah, that's it. Also, a very good race from the guy that we just saw on the screen, Gustavo Zanon, also Célio Brazil, winners in the sport class and the rookie class respectively, and it was very interesting to see yesterday's races. We talked about the safety car, but it was good even with the safety car deployments. Let's hear Renato.
Então você, que é entusiasta de automobilismo, você já é profissional da área, o Vini tem um convite muito especial para você.
Bom, você que quer trabalhar com automobilismo, quer ser um engenheiro de competição, de 17 a 20 de agosto, vai ter uma edição do curso do Jorge Segers. Esse é um curso feito pelo engenheiro de competição, um cara super renomado. Todos os anos eles vêm para o Brasil e faz um curso para os nossos engenheiros. E é um curso de formação, de capacitação. E no final desse curso tem um processo seletivo. Os melhores classificados passam a integrar a equipe de engenharia da Porsche Cup. Esse curso já formou, eu acho que mais de 300 pessoas, vários deles foram mundo afora no automobilismo, inclusive trabalhar na Fórmula 1. Então, é uma excelente oportunidade para quem quiser conhecer um pouquinho mais e, enfim, se profissionalizar nesse segmento. Só entrar no site da Porsche Cup, tem uma aba lá, treinamento, curso motorsport, você clica lá, tem todas as instruções lá.
É isso, gente, facinho de acessar. É importante frisar o seguinte, normalmente esse curso acontece mais no final do ano. Então está sendo um pouco mais cedo essa edição, certo?
Correto, está fazendo um pouquinho mais cedo. Tem umas novidades lá no conteúdo, é um formato diferente, acho que vale a pena no final do ano acabar coincidir com férias, coincidir com provas de faculdades. Então a gente trouxe para o meio do ano, um período um pouquinho mais tranquilo, que eu acho que fica mais legal para todo mundo.
Vini, muito obrigada, é isso aí. A Porsche Cup, além de trazer a formação, a informação para quem quer ser profissional, ainda gera oportunidade de trabalho. Isso está acontecendo também, Luke e Thiago, para quem não assistiu ontem e não está sabendo, está acontecendo um projeto muito legal aqui também com a FIA Girls on Track, onde mecânicas e engenheiras estão aqui participando, botando a mão na massa, tendo a oportunidade de conferir tudo que elas já aprenderam na teoria, agora na prática aqui, certo?
Yeah, nice interview there as promised with Vinicius Quadros that works for Porsche Cup Brazil. He was talking about one of the most interesting projects that Porsche Cup Brazil develops throughout a lot of years, actually. It is trainment with Jorge Segers, one of the most highly rated race engineers throughout the whole world. He's a Belgian engineer, and every year he trains Brazilian engineers or interested people about how to prepare for a race and so on. So that's one nice opportunity that Porsche Brazil gives. You can check that in Porsche Cup Brazil website. And also Renata mentioned something that we just saw yesterday, and we see images now as well. The project of the FIA Girls on Track program in Brazil, led by Bia Figueiredo, or Ana Beatriz as she's known in the US, with female mechanics, female engineers, also press officers, in order to promote women participating in motorsport. So from time to time, they are present in one of the main racing series in Brazil, and that's the first time it happens in Porsche Brazil. So very nice to see all of these projects happening, of course, and we have to praise Porsche Cup Brazil organizers because they are also promoting this kind of participation, this kind of knowledge being shared, and of course women in motorsport as well. Since we have Antonella Bassani, I think it's worthy of a mention, Sergio.
Yes, exactly. Very nice initiatives from Porsche Cup Brazil. They have also other very interesting situations. And we saw there one highlight. Well, let's listen to Renata again.
Acontece sempre duas etapas, sprint e endurance. Eu tô aqui com o seu Celso de manhã ao lado de Salas no ano passado. Eu quero saber, a Argentina te marcou, tá empolgado pra próxima já o seu?
Lógico, a gente ganhou nossa corrida de endurance e nós não tão bem. Esse ano eu quero ir nas duas e é uma pista que eu gostei bastante. Acho que é uma das melhores se não for a melhor.
Agora vou liberar ele que o box vai abrir e agora a gente tem que falar de sprint, certo? É isso aí com vocês.
Yeah, interview there with Alceu Feldman, driver of the main Porsche Carrera Cup class. He was talking about the next few rounds that we have in Porsche Brazil. The first one, the Sprint Championship round at Termas de Rio Hondo circuit located in the central part of Argentina, Santiago del Estero. province, the venue of the Argentinian Grand Prix of MotoGP, as also said, one of the most interesting tracks in which he raced throughout his career. And then in September the 2nd, we'll have the Sprint Championship round, and then September the 10th, we'll have the Endurance Series round. So once more, Porsche Cup Brazil visits Termas de Rio Hondo, and also alongside Guilherme Salas won the endurance round last year.
Yeah, we see some images there from the Argentina Tourism Office. It's to promoting to visit Argentina. And now we have Daniel Pires, the CEO of Porsche Cup Brazil with Renato.
A gente está falando quanto é legal, não só a pista que os pilotos adoram, mas também tudo que tem para fazer. A Argentina nos recebe muito bem. Comenta pra gente como está toda essa programação, esse planejamento para a gente voltar para Termas.
Não, verdade. É quinta ou sexta vez que vai para a Argentina, tem elas quatro vezes, a quarta vez para Termas. É uma pista espetacular, é uma pista que recebe o MotoGP. É gigante, a pista muito segura, muito competitiva, porque ela é muito larga, as filas de quatro carros para passar. É um show, é um verdadeiro show, e todos gostam muito e é muito segura. Então a gente sempre volta para Termas, assim, muita satisfação.
E o que dá para aproveitar de Termas também, da Argentina em si, né?
Claro, Termas é uma cidade muito legal, que já é famosa, né, pelas areias termais, etc. E areias também, para fazer tratamento de pele, eles gostam e tudo mais. Mas tem também um baita campo de golfe, tem um estádio muito legal, cassino, e uma série de coisas que dá para aproveitar, pode ficar lá durante uma semana, mais de uma semana, ficar durante 15 dias. São duas semanas consecutivas, né? No primeiro semana sprint, que é o primeiro semana de setembro, e o segundo semana de setembro, a corrida de endurance. Todas as corridas ao vivo pela Fox, na Argentina, aqui no Brasil também, televisionado pela Band. Então a gente tem certeza que vai ser novamente um grande show.
É isso, é para levar todos os talentos, né? Corrida de sprint, de endurance, eles correm duplas. Então vai ser mais um show dele. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado a vocês.
Só uma curiosidade. Essa questão da logística. Termina a etapa aqui, a gente tem um mês de agosto sem atividades, para a gente conseguir levar. Como feita toda essa logística para os carros chegarem na Argentina?
Sem atividades para quem vem na pista. Mas a nossa equipe trabalha constantemente, agora um trabalho árduo, para preparar todos os carros, preparar a carga, despachar tudo, fazer a viagem. Então não descansa, realmente não descansa. Vocês imaginam que são mais de 50 carros que irão para lá. Mais de 300 pessoas, então é um baita show, caminhões e...
toda a estrutura.
Exatamente. Tudo que estamos vendo aqui vai acontecer na Argentina. Um trabalho de logística gigante.
Muito obrigada. É isso, sempre pensando na excelência. Thiago, Luque, para fazer um show na pista, para os pilotos aproveitarem, para quem está em casa, para quem acompanha também. Com vocês aí.
Yeah, we heard from Daniel Pires, the CEO of Porsche Cup Brazil. He was talking about the next few rounds that we'll have in Termas de Rio Hondo. So Sil Feldman had talked as well. He highlighted the track. It's a quite wide track, so it allows a lot of overtaking maneuvers, sometimes 4 cars side by side. Actually, it is the 4th time that Porsche Cup Brazil visits Termas de Rio Hondo, so Daniel mentioned that the drivers are always happy to race there because it is a quite interesting racetrack, apart from being very safe as well. The city is quite interesting as well. It has casinos, stadiums, players can play golf there as well, so it's always a nice trip. And Renata asked him about the logistics of this trip to Argentina, and of course we have a break for the drivers, but as Daniel highlighted, the whole organization works hard in order to take more than 50 cars to Argentina, so it's quite a tough job, but always very well done. And once more, it's very nice to see that Porsche will visit Termas de Rio Hondo, and then highlighted that as well, the track that receives the Argentinian Grand Prix of MotoGP. Sergio.
Yes, it's impressive, these images we are seeing, Carlos, because it's the public Sometimes we don't even see this public in Brazilian stock car. Very good public going to attend this race in Interlagos, and it's always nice and shows how Porsche Cup Brazil has grown here inside Brazil among everybody, and that's very interesting. Let's listen to Renata.
Todo mundo querendo acompanhar a adrenalina da Porsche. Murilo aqui me chamando, tá uma loucura. Domingo é assim, é bom demais.
Yeah, she was highlighting what you were just saying, Sergio. A lot of public in the stands, and that's nice to see indeed, especially in such a cold weekend in São Paulo. Of course, Brazilians are a little bit more used to heat and so on, but now quite close to midday, the sun is shining, and of course, motorsport as a whole, it makes us always anxious to see what happens on track, especially with such a good level of grid in terms of drivers, cars, and so on. So the expectation for the round is quite good, and indeed we have a very interesting public at Interlagos.
Yeah, this is Ayrton Senna. We all know him. It's a very nice sculpture we have of him in Interlagos. Of course, that's one of the race tracks where he showed his great talent. For some, considered the best Formula One driver ever. Certainly, it's among the best. And unfortunately, he couldn't show more because of his untimely death. And then we saw Ayrton Senna again. Anyway, Carlos, Raijan Mascarello will start in the pole position. There is always a draw. No, in the first 4 rounds of the championship, there is a draw at the end of race 1 of the weekend to see who is going to be the pole position for race 2. And this draw can be between positions 5th and 8th. And Raijan Mascarello, who was 7th in the race yesterday, race 1 of Carrera Cup yesterday, will start in the pole position with Alceu Feldman in 2nd, then Peter Vetter, Miguel Paludo with Peter Vetter on the 2nd row, then Werner Neugebauer and Marcel Miller on 3rd row. And yesterday's winner, Nicolas Costas, starting on the 4th row with Nelson Marcondes. So that kind of starting grid, Carlos, adds a little bit to the emotion for race 2. Always on the weekend, at least for the first 4 rounds, then pole position is defined by the times on the track during the 5th and 6th round, but that turns the races very interesting, Carlos. I believe the 2nd race of the weekend.
Yeah, indeed, and especially because we have some drivers out of position, such as Nicolas Costa, for example, race winner, season leader in the main Carrera Cup class, starting only 7th with a lot of guys ahead, including his title rivals Marcel Miller, Werner Neugebauer, and even Miguel Paludo, that, as you said previously, was able to do an interesting recovery race yesterday. Of course, a little bit behind now in terms of championship standings, but still with title chances. We have, apart from this race, 4 more races in this sprint championship of the 2023 Porsche Cup Brazil season. But the grid is quite interesting also when we think about the fight in the intermediate classes, sport class, rookie class, for example, Raijan Mascarello starting ahead of the pack right beside Alceu Feldman, that is from the main class, but with Peter Vetter just behind him. Peter was one of the main names of yesterday's actions, not just in the race, but also in qualifying. Peter, that had an inconsistent season until this round, was able actually to get an overall podium since he finished 5th on track. So it will be nice. And apart from that, a quite interesting fight also in the rookie class of the Porsche Carrera Cup Championship, because we had some incidents yesterday, and now Edu Guedes has a good points gap, but Gustavo Farah isn't that far, 16 points between the 2 front runners. So there's still a lot of ground to come, and it tends to be very interesting until the very last round of this sprint championship that we have in Porsche Carrera Cup. This season will be finalized in the Interlagos track once more as a support event to the Brazilian Formula One Grand Prix.
Yes, on the rookie class also, Carlos, there is João Barbosa and Bruno Campos, who are 10 points behind Edu Guedes. So they are still on the fight for that championship. And in the Carreira Sports, Carreira Cup Sport class, we have Lucas Salles leading the way with 81 points, but Giorgio Frangoulis is just 7 points behind him. Then we have way behind Neo Pires, Nelson Monteiro, and Rajan Mascarello. I don't think at this point they'll be able to fight, as we keep seeing the cars. They go to the track, some go back to the pits to pass through the pits. But anyway, everyone is getting prepared for this second race of this fourth round of the Porsche Cup C6 Bank Mastercard, and it will be the 8th race of the year. We have 12 races each year during the sprint championship for Porsche Cup Brazil. There are 3 races for the endurance championship, and now finally it looks like the cars are going to align there, because as we see the championship standings after the race yesterday, and you can see that clearly Nicolas Costa, with his victory yesterday, he got a big advantage on first place of 13 points, which is a lot, I would say, considering how the point standings, how the point system works. But he's still, Marcel Miller, he can still get there, as well as Werner Neugebauer, and even Miguel Paludo, with a couple of good results, can get closer to the leader, Nicolas Costa, Carlos.
Yeah, definitely. All of the 3 can reach Nicolas. We still have 4 races, as we explained. I believe that the situation for Alceu Feldman is a little bit more tricky. Just one correction about the rookie class championship standings. I said that there was 16 points between Farah and Edu Guedes, but it's only 6 points, sorry. Now we hear from Marcel Miller on the grid with Renata Diniz.
O que você pode contar pra gente que tá preparando?
Ontem a gente teve um toque logo no início da prova, lá na Curva do Lago, que prejudicou bastante nossa corrida. Depois da recuperação, a gente conseguiu demonstrar que tinha um ritmo muito bom. Então, se não fosse aquele toque, talvez poderia ter sido um resultado ainda melhor. Mas a gente está focado na corrida de hoje aqui, tentar ver se conseguimos aí na largada tentar ganhar uma posição e depois tentar manter um ritmo forte aí, pra quem sabe poder até brigar por vitória.
Sobre o carro, o toque já foi consertado, tá ajustadíssimo.
Já tá alinhado, pronto para escalar esse pelotão aí.
Isso, olhar frio de Marcel Miller. Obrigada pela prova. Luque?
Yeah, Miller that starts 6th on the grid today. He mentioned that he had a touch yesterday that compromised a little bit his performance, even though he was able to get a good recovery race, and as we said, he finished 2nd, and now the expectation is to go full throttle and attack the guys ahead. So also a recovery race in a way, because he's out of position due to the draw that defines the grid, Sergio just explained, but I believe he has a good condition. Let's see how Nicolas Costa, that is starting quite close to him, will perform as well. The restart, I believe, will be very interesting and quite important for this title contender, Sergio.
Yes, we still see the public there, very nice public. We saw lots of people on the pit lane before the race. Of course, now everybody has returned to their places to watch the race, and still I'm very impressed, Carlos, by the amount of public there in the stands waiting to watch this race. It's not like a choose of camera. You can see the camera is moving around all the main bleachers. It's almost like a Formula One Grand Prix, Carlos. Of course, during the Formula One GP in Brazil, we have bleachers stands in many other places along the racetrack that are temporary stands. But anyway, these are the main stands of Interlagos. Let's go back to Renata.
E agora com essa inversão, puxando todo esse pelotão. Não podia estar mais feliz, né?
Não, foi fantástico. Você deu a notícia do dia ontem, né?
Ele pulava de alegria, que vocês não fazem ideia.
É que a gente fez uma ótima classificação, pena da bandeira vermelha, podia ter largado mais na frente ainda no quali, né? Mas eu acho que largando aqui já é um meio caminho andado, claro que ali atrás os brutos estão ali atrás, né? Mas a gente está bem focado, o carro está muito bom, final de semana está sendo bom para nós, a gente vestiu o carro, acho que agora em diante é só evolução.
A gente sabe que a largada aqui em Interlagos acaba sendo um pouco delicada, porque todo mundo quer tentar uma ultrapassagem ali. Como é que você está pensando em administrar isso, Raijan?
Olha, é o que eu falei pro Leandro, né? É frear onde que dá, pra gente tentar sair primeiro na S. Porque aqui a gente sabe, por dentro é um perigo. Você fica meio encaixotado quando tá atrás. Quando tá na frente, tem um perigo do cara vir por fora. Dá uma escapadinha, vai dar uma ralada. Mas se Deus quiser, vai dar certo, a gente vai conseguir entrar na reta oposta primeiro. E aí é só alegria.
Boa, Raijan, é isso. Você que está em casa acompanhando, já sabe o que está passando na cabeça do piloto que vai largar aqui na position, que é o Raijan Mascarello aqui.
Yeah, now we heard Raijan Mascarello starting from pole position. Of course, he celebrated a lot the fact that he can start ahead of the pack, but he mentioned also the fact that it is a quite tricky position when you are P1 in this grid, because you can be attacked from the outside and the inside line as well. And eventually, if you go wide, an accident can happen in that first leg of the Sina S's that we just saw. Apart from that, he said that he will try to brake as late as possible. Of course, he cannot brake too late, but anyway, he highlighted the fact that the main Carrera Cup class drivers are behind, so probably focusing on the classmate. Let's hear from Peter Fetter.
Muito feliz de largar nessa posição, como você vai aproveitar?
Bom, só de estar aqui já é uma maravilha, tá numa categoria espetacular. Mas com certeza a ansiedade é bastante, né? Largar em terceiro lugar, na frente do grid. Então tem que se concentrar para não errar, não bater. Os carros são muito rápidos. E vamos para frente, sabe? Tem muito gente rápida atrás que vai vir para cima, então não vai ser fácil, não.
Quem está mais atrás dele ainda é o Diego Nunes, que está ali passando as dicas, o coach dele. Ele não pega leve não, né?
Não, ajuda muito, ele deixa muita vontade durante a corrida no rádio. Ele vai passando a estratégia, já mantém a temperatura do pneu. O piloto está na categoria, não disputa, fica tranquilo. Isso é muito bom.
Obrigada, boa prova para você. Luque.
Yeah, now we heard from Peter Fetter, that is starting third in this grid. A very good highlight of yesterday's actions. And he also highlighted the fact that the work that is done by his driver coach, Diego Nunes, a former GP2 driver, by the way, is very important, because with a lot of the main Carrera class drivers behind, his coach is always telling him which fight is interesting to invest on, because he has to focus on his class. Now we hear the national anthem of Brazil.
So there you have the Brazilian national anthem. And now ceremonies are over, so we soon should have the start of this race, which is the 8th race of the season. With this is 5 to go until the end of the championship. We're getting close to the final rounds. And beautiful day again in Interlagos for this big party, this big spectacle that we are watching the Porsche Cup. First, we have the Porsche Carrera Cup race, then we have the Sprint Challenge. And of course, both races, we expect a lot for them with the inversion of the grid. In the Sprint Challenge, it was the top 6 that inverted the grid. In the Carrera Cup that we're going to watch now, it was the top 7. So it makes it even more interesting. And we still see the public there as the drivers get ready to go into their cars and start the race. Race is 25 minutes plus 1 lap. Of course, sometimes the 25 minutes ends when the drivers are starting a lap or in the middle of the lap. So it's 2 laps then at that point to go. But anyway, that's how the races are. So first we'll have the Carrera Cup and then the Sprint Challenge, Carlos, as everybody's getting ready for one more race here. I'll see that's an interesting approach to the beginning of the race, but let's wait and see, Carlos. That we'll have the 5 minutes plaque there showing that we are about to start this race.
Yeah, that's it. In a moment, we will also have official confirmation of the grid. We just saw the championship standing situation. So all is set. The public is back to the stands. As you very well highlighted, Sergio, a very good public. The main stand there completely full, which is just one more signal of how well organized this series is. Also in terms of prices, because it's a quite accessible ticket in order to visit Interlagos, to know the drivers depending on the type of the ticket that you have. And racing is actually always good in Porsche Cup Brazil, as we hear from Renata Diniz once more. Actually, she's just testing her microphone. But the main thing is that apart from all of the spectacle, racing is the most important thing. It delivers. This series definitely delivers, not just in terms of racing, but also qualifying. We had a very interesting quali yesterday for both of the championships. Then after these 2 races, the Porsche Sprint Trophy, not broadcasted in English, but I always like to highlight this school category because exactly of what we saw yesterday with Eduardo Taurizano. Recently promoted to the Sprint Challenge Championship already directly to the main class, and we see that the whole work is well done when you see drivers developing themselves and getting more and more skilled. So it just shows that apart from being a spectacular racing series, the driver development work is always very well done, not just with older drivers such as Eduardo Taurizano that is going back to races, but also with young drivers such as Antonella Bassani, for example. If I'm not wrong, she's 17 years old, 2 times finalist of the FIA Girls on Track program, globally, by the way. So that is something quite remarkable. And we see, for example, the reigning champion of the main Carrera class, Enzo Elias, already racing abroad, also a Stock Car Pro Series driver. So we see that indeed this series is in a very high level of competitiveness, Sergio.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Carlos, as we are waiting for live images from Interlagos. This race you can watch here in English in our YouTube channel, in the Porsche Cup YouTube channel. I believe also in motorsports.tv, no, Carlos? Or
that's right.
Exactly. I always mention the Porsche Cup channel in Brazil, but you can always watch on Motorsport TV. And we invite you, like Carlos said, to watch the race after this broadcast, the race we're going to have with this new category from Porsche Cup Brazil. The race is a little bit shorter, it's 20 minutes, plus 1 lap, but these are very interesting races that already highlighted the good work of Eduardo Taurizano, who today it looks like he's a professional, almost like here in the Porsche Cup, the Sprint Challenge category. And we are back with images from Interlagos. These were images that were done before the cars lined up. So these are recuperated images, but soon we'll have the cars already on the track or where they are for a while. And we are going to have the start of this 8th race of the season, 2nd race of this weekend. Remember that highlighting that Raijan Mascarello, who is starting the pole position, is from the sport class. There you see 4,309 meters for the Interlagos racetrack, 19 degrees Celsius it's the temperature, 28 degrees Celsius the track temperature, wind of 5 kilometers per hour. It's not that much, but we see there an image from Interlagos as we are ready to start this event on Sunday. So again, the image is really highlighting the public, and we'll see the cars there ready to start. I believe we are ready if we don't have 5 minutes, we are close to have the 5 minutes flag there to see, and that's Renata Diniz.
Yeah, just saying that she's there, standing by to bring us any interview or information. We'll have racing in a moment, and maybe with retirements and so on. Renata Diniz is a very important factor of our broadcast because she is always bringing to us updated information about cars and drivers. And I believe that we are close to the green flag, as once more we see the public in the stands, a lot of people indeed, which just shows that people in Brazil are passionate about motorsport, and Porsche Cup Brazil is doing a very good job in terms of bringing fans to the races, especially at Interlagos. Sorry, that is a very famous track in Brazil, and not just Brazil, known worldwide because of the Formula 1 Grand Prix that we have in São Paulo. So now the formation and lap, and then green flag, Sergio.
Exactly. So we are ready to start. Let's see the starting grid again. Raijan Mascarello, pole position. Alceu Feldman alongside him. Then Peter Ferter and Miguel Paludo. Behind them, we will have Werner Neugebauer and Marcel Miller. On the 4th row, we have Nicolas Costa, yesterday's winner, alongside Nelson Marcondes, who finished 8th yesterday. Then Lucas Salles and Lineu Pires. Behind them, Roman Zinkiewicz and Giorgio Frangulis. They had great battles yesterday. Fontanari and Nelson Monteiro will be in the 7th row. Then behind them, Eduardo Menossi and Rodrigo Melo, who didn't have a good race yesterday. He's trying to recuperate today. Pay attention to him. Eamon Darwich and Paulo Souza. Then Piero Cifali and Edu Guedes. And then Bruno Campos, Gustavo Farah. And finally, in the last row, we'll have Nasser Abultaif and Franco Giafone.
Franco Giafone also quite out of position. He had a retirement yesterday, so definitely should be in the middle of the pack, but now last on the grid, as we see an onboard camera with Raijan Mascarello, our pole sitter, as you said, driver from the sport class, not the main Carrera class, but anyway, a very competitive one. Actually, the reigning champion of the Porsche Sprint Challenge main class in Porsche Brazil. Peter Ferter, Nelson Marcondes, a lot of good drivers in this grid, but of course we are all focused on the title fight, so we have to check the guys that are starting also from, I would say, P4 on the grid to P7, between Miguel Paludo and Nicolas Costa especially.
Yeah, the cars are all aligned. We should have a very interesting start of the race. First row, we have Raijan Mascarello. He'll be on your right side. Alongside him, Alceu Feldman. Then on the 2nd row, Raijan Mascarello is number 800. Peter Ferter and Miguel Paludo on the 2nd row. Miguel Paludo will be on the outside, on your left side, and Peter Ferter will be on your right side. Red lights are on. They are going to turn off. We're going to have the start of the race. Let's see how it starts. And it's green, green, green. Start of the race in Interlagos. Miguel Paludo already on the outside, alongside Alceu Feldman. 3 side by side on the beginning of S of Senna. Raijan Mascarello keeps first position. Miguel Paludo gets second from Alceu Feldman. Nice work for him. Marcel Miller is along Alceu Feldman as well. Marcel Miller goes wide. That's the yellow Porsche there on your left side of your screen. But it seems that he's already in third place ahead of Alceu Feldman. No, Alceu Feldman on the inside. Then we have Werner Neugebauer right behind Alceu Feldman. That's the yellow Porsche that goes on the inside. What a move by Werner Neugebauer. What a move by Werner Neugebauer. He gets the position. He's touched by Alceu Feldman and he loses position. What a bad situation for Alceu Feldman, for Werner Neugebauer in the very beginning of the race. And I believe Alceu Feldman goes wide as well. Another car with a problem. And Miguel Paludo is getting the first position. Great work by Miguel Paludo. Wow, what a start of the race, Carlos.
Completely crazy start. First of all, we have to highlight Miguel Paludo's jump there. Very good race start for the 7-time champion of Porsche Cup Brazil. We have the safety car deployed. Let's see the confirmation. But thank God no one hit Werner Neugebauer when he spun, because he spun right in the middle of the track, and there was we still had a lot of drivers to come, so most of them managed to avoid. I think there was a slight contact there, but no major crashes. It was a very, very dangerous position, but anyway, it seems everyone is okay, as we see once more the good jump in the outside line there of the red car of Miguel Paludo. We saw that Peter Vetter lost a lot of ground. Werner Neugebauer was able to benefit from the fight between Marcel Miller and Alceu Feldman. I have to say that I think that Alceu was excessively aggressive when defending his position in the fight with Marcel Miller, and he was also the guy that touched Werner Neugebauer's car. You see there, Alceu pushes Marcel to the outside of the track, and then he hits Werner Neugebauer. So maybe a penalty for Alceu Feldman, and that's a dangerous situation that I mentioned. The cars were able to avoid the drivers, to avoid the car of Werner Neugebauer, and it was very dangerous indeed, because if you had a T crash there or something like that, it would be very concerning, even if these Porsche cars are very, very safe, as we see the onboard camera of Peter Vetter and the touches there right ahead of him.
Yeah, Peter Vetter had a great move there. He ended up, he's now third. Let's confirm there, but it seems third. And Rodrigo Melo also was touched there. He had a problem with his car, because we don't see there. The car that we are seeing is Nelson Monteiro. Too bad for Nelson Monteiro to appear in the situation, but that's what happened to him. And he was one of the cars. He started in the 14th position, 7th row. So that's the end of the race for him. You see behind there the car for Edu Guedes, number 9. Renata.
Yeah, she was talking about repairments of one of the cars involved in that melee. But we have to highlight also Nicolas Costa's start. He was able to stay out of trouble and already gain a lot of ground. I believe P5 in this moment, right behind Marcel Miller. So even though Miguel Paludo has a good position, his title rivals aren't that far.
We still have the safety car on there. We're waiting for the track to be clean. Miguel Paludo is first, followed by Raijan Mascarello, then Peter Vetter, Marcel Miller, and Nicolas Costa. As we see again the touch of Alceu Feldman on Werner Neugebauer. Too bad for Werner Neugebauer that he's a title contender. He started this race third in this championship, but for sure he will lose ground in this battle, even though we know that 2 results are to be discarded at the end of the season. But of course, Carlos, the less results you have to be discarded, the better. You know, if you have lots of points in each race, yes, you discard lots of points, but it's better to have 0 points, 0 points, 0 point in 3 races, you know, so it's always good.
Yeah, definitely. And when we think about results being discarded, the championship standings and so on, that's actually, this incident that we just saw, it is a major blow for Werner Neubauer title pretension because now he probably won't grab points from this second race of this Interlagos weekend. And of course, it seems Miguel Paludo will have good points. If not win, then get a good result ahead of the pack. As we see, Raijan Mascarello that is running second, right behind Miguel Paludo. And there we see Marçal Miller and Nicolas Costa fourth and fifth, respectively. So that's not good at all for Werner Neubauer. And thinking about the other fights in the other classes, interesting situation for Lucas Salles, even though he has Mascarello and Ferter. He's third in his class at this moment, sixth overall. So good points for him as well. He has a good margin to his rivals.
Cars are ready to restart the race. Miguel Paludo leads the pack, followed by Raijan Mascarello and Peter Ferter. And we have green again in Interlagos. So we restart the race. 8th race of the season. Miguel Paludo has a good start ahead. That's what we would expect from him. No changes in the first 5, 6, 7, 8 positions, as we have still a little bit over 18 minutes to go in the second race of the weekend in Interlagos. And you can see already, Carlos, that Miguel Paludo opens a little bit of a gap over Raijan Mascarello, as we see Marçal Miller attacking Peter Ferter and Raijan Mascarello, and Marçal Miller is second. So Marçal Miller might be able to get close to Miguel Paludo. Peter Ferter trying there on the right side of your screen to get the position also from Raijan Mascarello. They are side by side, they touch, and Nicolas Costa gets third position. He takes advantage of the battle there between Raijan Mascarello and Peter Ferter, and Nicolas Costa is third now. That's a problem for Miguel Paludo, Carlos, that now has tough adversaries behind him that might be able to get close to him to battle for first position, as we see the onboard from Peter Ferter, Carlos, who lost a few positions there after his touch with Raijan Mascarello.
Yeah, they were fighting for the lead of the sport class, and eventually Nicolas Costa was able to benefit from the fact that they lost time and even touched each other, as we see the onboard camera that just shows Raijan Mascarello complaining about the touch. But that's part of racing. I believe that we will have no penalties or something like that. But anyway, Costa was able to overtake, as we see once more the incident there. And it's interesting that we have a top three in a reverse situation, if we can say so, compared to the championship standings. Miguel Paludo ahead. Paludo currently has 128 points. Marçal Miller second, 134 points. And Nicolas Costa third, 147 points. Remembering that the winner of the second race grabs 25 points, the second 22, and the third 20 points.
We see their best lap so far of Marçal Miller. That's a concern for Miguel Paludo. And after those incidents, Carlos, Lucas Salles is now fourth. He is the best car in the sport class. He's followed by Roman Zinkiewicz with a Porsche number 8. And then we have Raijan Mascarello there. As we see many battles at the back of the field. That's a very interesting situation there. We see there number 17 of Ricardo Fontanari. He's in the battle with Franco Giaffoni and Eduardo Menossi. Eduardo Menossi leading the pack there. As we see Franco Giaffoni. Franco Giaffoni getting the position from Menossi, and also Ricardo Fontanari. Ricardo Fontanari on the inside with the Porsche blue and yellow on the back of the Porsche. And both get the position from Eduardo Menossi. So not a good moment for Eduardo Menossi. And look at Ricardo Fontanari getting the position, trying to get the position from Franco Giaffoni. He's not able to. He loses even a little bit of ground there, as Franco Giaffoni right now is in the 10th position. Ahead of him, Carlos, we have Peter Ferter. who was involved in one of these incidents. He's a little bit ahead here. He's more ahead, but anyway, Peter Ferter fell to the ninth position after those incidents in the beginning of the race.
And there you see that Marcel Miller has a good pace in the moment, so that's a dangerous situation for Miguel Paludo. The battle is on the screen right now, and we have to remember that Franco Giafone started last on the grid already, 11th. So what a recovery race so far for Franco, that is the reigning sport class champion. And let's see the sectors there, because the situation is getting interesting when we think about the fight for the race win. Now we see also Ayman Darvic that is out of the race.
And we have to remember, because yesterday, how Marcel Miller was able to get from fourth to second. So he did a great work yesterday. He was able to keep his tires to the end of the race. And at the end of the race, he got one more position. He got the position from Werner Neugebauer. First, he got the position from Peter Ferter, then from Werner Neugebauer, and that's how he finished second to Nicolas Costa yesterday. And there we see Raijan Mascarello trying to get the position from Roman Zinkiewicz. Roman Zinkiewicz is with Porsche number 8. It's this livery there with it's painted by an artist, and with the green Porsche we have Raijan Mascarello. He is trying here on the inside, not able to. And behind them we have Lineu Pires with number 888, and then Nelson Marcondes.
And Lucas Salles, class leader in the sport category, already leading his pack there. So that just shows why he's also first in the championship standings. Always consistent, and from time to time even fighting closely with the main Carrera class drivers, as we see the onboard camera there of Raijan Mascarello. Interesting situation also in the rookie class with that green tag that we see in the screen to the left there. Bruno Campos leading ahead of Paulo Souza. Edu Guedes, that is the class leader, a little bit behind. Then we have the rest of the pack with Nasser Abultaif and Piero Cifali. João Barbosa is missing this round, but very interesting race so far throughout the whole pack, and especially ahead because we are talking about title protagonists in the main class, and Miller is approaching.
Yeah, and it's very important for both Miguel Paludo and Marcel Miller to stay ahead of Nicolas Costa. Nicolas Costa so far, Carlos, in third, we see there is a little bit of a wider gap between him and Marcel Miller, but we still have half the race to go, and let's see, Nicolas Costa might be able to recuperate anyway. It's a good position for him, remembering that he started in 7th, and due to the many incidents, we have this situation now with Miguel Paludo, Marcel Miller, and Nicolas Costa. As we see, they are behind, a little bit separated from these first 3 drivers. We still see Lucas Salles being pressured by Roman Zinkiewicz. Roman Zinkiewicz, who got many positions as well during this race. He was able to take advantage of the problems ahead of him, of the many touches we had in the beginning of the race, which was a beginning of the race we expected, Carlos, just because of the inversion of the grid. We always say that second race, it turns out to be very interesting, usually in the Porsche Cup Sprint Championship in Brazil. Problems with Bruno Campos, and he's not in a good position, Carlos.
Not at all. Let's see the replay, and we have to remember that he was leading the rookie class. We just see the end of the incident. Let's see if we have images from the beginning of that accident, but apparently he will lose ground, to say the least. Let's see if he's able to rejoin the track and get out of that dangerous position, because if that's not the case, then we possibly will have another deployment of the safety car. We saw the yellow flag being waved.
Yeah, and I think the safety car will come again to the track, because it's a very dangerous position. I don't think he'll be able to take his car from there, Carlos. Yeah, there's the safety car. It's the best decision. So it's the second entrance of the safety car in this race. Oh, look, it's very, very bad place to be.
Yeah, impossible to resume racing with that car there. So indeed, it was the right decision from the race director, safety car deployment, but I still want to see the beginning of that incident. And now with the closer image, we saw that it was indeed a crash into the barriers, the tire barriers there. The front of his car is completely wrecked, so there was no way that he could go back to the racetrack or even return to the pits. And maybe it will take a while to rescue this car because it's in a narrow part of the circuit there. Let's see how long the safety car will be on track.
That's a highlight for Miguel Paludo. He's using all the track there. Behind him is Marcel Miller, and that will be a challenge for Paludo or Marcel Miller to stay ahead of Nicolas Costa when we have the restart.
Precisa melhorar o setor 2 para chegar no Paludo. Então, o cenário muda e os caras usando a estratégia ao mesmo tempo, porque eu tenho pé curto e a cabeça na vitória sempre.
Yeah, Renata Diniz talked to someone from the pit crew of Marcel Miller, and they said that Marcel has to improve his second sector in order to get closer to Paludo and attack. We see that he's close, but not enough to try the overtaking maneuver, and they have to be very intelligent, both Paludo and Miller, because if they lose too much time battling against each other, then Nicolas Costa will be able to get closer and closer and closer. Now we see the rescue work being done there. It seems that it will be fast, and I'm curious to see the cars passing close to the rescue team there.
Yeah, it seemed to me, Carlos, that he was driving the car actually. It was by his own power that he did that move. I don't know. I'm not sure.
If that's the case, it's better because theoretically it's faster than being pulled by the trucks there. But I think it will be faster than I initially thought the safety car period.
Yeah, we for sure will have the restart of the race, I believe. We still have 8 minutes to go. Usually the Porsche rescue team rescue crew works very, very well. I like that because we see in some categories, Carlos, it takes a long time to rescue cars, to take cars that wrecked out of the track. Some are painful, for us to wait for this to happen. But my experience with Porsche Cup Brazil is that it's always very, very fast.
No, that's a positive factor indeed. And apart from the rescue crew being quite fast, we have to praise also the race direction because they are fast with the safety car deployment, and then that allows the pit crew, actually the rescue crew, to be fast when getting out the cars that are wrecked on the track, because sometimes you see, for example, in Formula 1 races that they use the virtual safety car for 2 or 3 laps, and then they deploy the real safety car, if we can say so, which is something that is not that understandable. Why do you have 3 laps or something of a virtual safety car if you can deploy the safety car for real and then make the rescue of a wrecked car? But anyway, as you said, the Porsche job is being well done also in this matter.
Yeah. The lights of the safety car are already off, so we should have the start of the race, I believe. Let's confirm that. We are approaching. Yeah, the safety car is already gone, so we have the restart of the race at the main straight. Miguel Paludo will hit the throttle again, and then behind him is Marcel Miller, then Nicolas Costa, Lucas Salles, and Roman Zinkiewicz. Good restart for Miguel Paludo. He opens a little bit of a gap over Marcel Miller. Nicolas Costa is right behind them, but the gap anyway closed regarding what was before the safety car. As we see some battle there. Wow, that's a nice battle. That was Franco Giaffoni that ended up losing position. Someone spun there. Apparently someone spun there or went off track. Wow, that was wild there. No, I think it was just went off track. And Franco Giaffoni was battling with Giorgio Frangoulis.
I believe that smoke was due to someone drifting a bit there and then going wide off track, as you said. Let's see the replay of the incident with Franco Giaffoni. No, that's...
Yeah, it was ahead of him. No, there was a spun. A driver spun there, for sure.
But he was able to recuperate. Lucky enough to spin and then coming back to position, but of course a lot of ground lost there as we see now. One more fight, and ahead of the pack, the gaps aren't that big, which is interesting. And luckily, we didn't have another safety car deployment, Sergio.
Yeah, it was Raijan Mascarello who took the position from Roman Zinkevich. Lucas Salles is separated in the 4th place. He's behind the top 3, but he's in a good position ahead of the 5th place, which at this point is Raijan Mascarello, who, as I said, got the position from Zinkevich. And Marcel Miller puts the pressure on Miguel Paludo with a little bit over 4 minutes to go. He got really close to Miguel Paludo, and Miguel Paludo will have to work hard to defend himself, Carlos, with Nicolas Costa not being able to get close to the top 2 cars.
There we see a communication from the stewards incident between cars 856 and 199, if I'm not wrong, is being investigated, by the stewards. So let's see if there's any penalty, and Marcel Miller quite close in this moment.
This is a great battle. These are rivals for a long time. Of course, they have a good relationship, but they are rivals on the track. They both are veterans in the Porsche Cup Brazil. Behind them in 3rd place, Nicolas Costa is a newcomer. It's his first season this year, but he leads the championship, so it shows how strong he got there. And Marcel Miller is trying different lines there to see if he gets close to Miguel Paludo, who keeps defending himself with 3 minutes to go, plus 1 lap in this race, in the 2nd race of this weekend, 4th round of Porsche Cup Brazil.
Look at the sector 2 that the pit crew of Marcel Miller mentioned. Now quite close to the sector 2 from Miguel Paludo, and closer after the main straight. Let's see.
They go to the S of Senna. That's where Marcel Miller gets close to Miguel Paludo. As we see some battles behind them. That's Franco Giaffoni passing there. Franco Giaffoni is in 9th place, and then we have Edu Menossi behind him. Eduardo Menossi. Marcel Miller will have to give everything now, Carlos, because we are approaching the end of the race. The leadership from Miguel Paludo is not that comfortable. On your top right, on the right top, you see the team from Miguel Paludo. Under it, we see the team from Marcel Miller. And it's a very important battle there. If Miguel Paludo, oh, look at Marcel Miller, getting really close, but it's a different line. He loses ground on the exit of the turn. And as they go for 1 more lap there, they are approaching the end. They are going to the main straight now. And let's see if Miguel Paludo is again being able to defend himself from Marcel Miller. That's where Marcel Miller gets really close to him, Carlos.
Yeah, we have the slipstream effect, but Paludo is defending very well. Let's see his line ahead of the first leg of the Senna S's there, the left-hander after the main straight.
So they are going to have this lap with 58 seconds to go. Carlos, I believe they go for the last lap after that. Because 1 lap around the circuit is 1:37, 1:93, around that, or 1:36 was the best time. Oh, another car on the track there. Wow.
Yeah, but this car is there for a while already, because
okay.
We saw Iman Darvic walking back to his garage, and it was a while ago, so they just are showing what happened to his car.
But anyway, Carlos, I think, oh, look at Raijan Mascarello trying to get close to Lucas Salles, but I don't think there will be any time. And when Miguel Paludo crosses the line, the time will be over. So I believe we will have only 1 more lap after this. Let's just confirm.
I think
it's
so.
10 seconds to the end of the race, 8 now. There is Lucas Salles, 4th place.
The clock will tick, then 2 more laps, I think. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, two more laps, but it's the end of this lap, right? So
Exactly.
as soon as he passes the start-finish line, there will be one more lap.
So it's all or nothing for Marcel Miller, but he cannot make any mistake as well because Nicolas Costa is right behind. So a tricky situation for Marcel as we see a replay of a fight between Georgios Frangoulis and Eduardo Menossi, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Giorgio Frangoulis gets the position from Eduardo Menossi.
And there
And
it
that's
is.
the last lap. Yes,
Yeah.
that's last lap. Miguel Paludo is going for one more victory in his career. And I believe, Carlos, I don't know if you could
Yes.
check that, it will be a record holder of victories in Porsche Cup Brazil.
I just confirmed. If he wins, it will be his race win of number 40 in Porsche Cup Brazil, and then he will be alone as the guy with most race wins in this series, passing Constantino Jr. that has 39. Currently, he's tied with Constantino, and I believe that he will do it. The good thing for Marcel Miller is that he has a good pace, but the bad thing is that he has Mikel Paludo ahead, a 7-time champion of the series, and it seems that he will be a record holder in a moment.
Yeah, and that will be his second victory this season. He won the second race in Velocità, this racetrack in the interior of São Paulo state, about 2 hours, right, Carlos? 2 hours and a half from the city of São Paulo. And he won the second race there. Marcel Miller gets really close at the very end. He might try to attack in the main straight, but Miguel Paludo is going for the checkered flag just ahead of Marcel Miller. Nicolas Costa is third. He flashes his lights already, and it's Miguel Paludo who wins the second race of the weekend of Carrera Cup in Interlagos. Marcel Miller is second, Nicolas Costa is third, Lucas Salles is fourth, with Ayjan Mascarello getting a great fifth place, then Roman Zinkiewicz, Lineu Pires, and Nelson Marcondes, Franco Giafone, and Giorgio Frangoulis. These are the top 10. We see there Rick Brandt, who is the owner of the Brandt, that he's always, it's impressive, Carlos, that Rick Brandt is always with Miguel Paludo in the races in Brazil. He lives in the US, of course. It's US is an American company, the company Brandt, that works in the agriculture industry, products for the agriculture business industry, but he's always with Miguel Paludo here for the race weekends.
Yeah, which is very nice to see. Rick Brandt always presence in Paludo's garage. You can see that they have a good relationship, and now once more you can see why Paludo has this I would say honor to have his main sponsor always close to him. As you see, whoa, what a move there from Eduardo Guedes, battle with Paulo Souza in the rookie class. But we are talking, my dear Sergio, about the record holder in terms of race wins in Porsche Brazil. Yesterday we had 200 races of Porsche Cup Brazil at Interlagos. The series started in 2005, holding its first event actually in this track, and now 40 race wins for this man that has conquered 7 titles throughout different championships in this Porsche Cup Brazil series. That is definitely one of the most important racing categories in Latin America, I would say. You can see how well organized it is. We are talking about the most produced race cars in the world. Very safe, very fast as well. We have speed traps around 250 kilometers per hour in the end of the main straight of Interlagos, sometimes even more. So we are talking about elite racing and an elite driver. Also, when we mention brand sponsorship, it's important to mention how I would say high level of a driver Miguel Paludo is. We are talking also about a guy that competes in the NASCAR Xfinity series in the US sometimes. So it's definitely one of the most important names of Brazilian motorsport nowadays, I would say, considering even drivers from abroad, the Stock Car Pro Series drivers. But Miguel Paludo is definitely a legend of our sport. And now one more time, grabbing important points in order to try and fight for this title. Of course, Nicolas Costa had a good result as well, but gap by gap, point by point, he diminishes that gap and will try to get this title. And it would be amazing, but anyway, we have to praise as well Nicolas' consistency. And Marcel Miller tried hard, but wasn't able to overtake, even though the second place for him is not that bad, considering that Werner Neugebauer didn't score, and he was ahead of Nicolas Costa, as we see also Lucas Salles celebrating a very deserved race win in the sport class. And now the man of the day so far, Miguel Paludo, record holder in terms of race wins in Porsche Cup Brazil.
Yeah, that's very impressive. A great career that Miguel Paludo has. We have to remember this year, as it happened the last couple of years, he's competing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, 3 races each season. He had already 2 races this year, and he'll have the 4th race at in the Indianapolis road course. So that's been these have been great years for Miguel Paludo, who lives in the United States, as Lucas Salles is commemorating his victory in the sport class. Great work by Lucas Salles. Carlos, indeed. Renata Diniz.
Paludo, domingo histórico para nossa categoria. Olha só. Você esperava por essa, Miguel? Depois do final de semana que não começou muito do jeito que você gostaria, o quali também não, mas ontem de nono para quarto. Comenta pra gente.
Bom, eu falei ontem depois da classificação, é duro classificar lá atrás, sabendo nosso potencial. E eu falei que nada acontece por acaso. Verteu 7, largamos em quarto, por fora. Na minha opinião, uma posição de vantagem na largada, se você faz uma boa largada. Ontem eu perdi várias posições que eu estava por dentro. E consegui uma excelente largada. O seu me espremeu muito no seu, e em vez de fazer a curva, ele eliminou meu carro, mas eu não tirei o pé. E ali definiu a corrida, desalinhou meu carro. E eu fiquei muito frente ao volante torto. Então eu tava só andando o mais rápido possível, sem cometer erros. E domingo muito especial, esse público maravilhoso aí, assistindo a corrida. Queria agradecer a Brand, o Rick, que tá aqui. Eu acho que 40 horas é especial para mim. Espero que tenha ainda muito por ver.
Isso, a gente sempre fala que a corrida não é vez na primeira curva, mas você veio para fazer isso.
É isso aí, hoje foi muito bom. E agora esse momento para o final da temporada, que a gente está na briga aí pelo campeonato. Assistindo, uma aí dos Estados Unidos.
Para vocês.
Valeu para vocês.
Valeu, Miguel. Obrigada. Luque?
Yeah, we heard Miguel Paludo talking about how challenging the whole weekend was. Actually, he had bad luck in the qualifying session, as we now see Edu Guedes celebrating his class win in the rookie Porsche Cup, Carrera Cup, actually, rookie class. But anyway, Miguel Paludo didn't have any luck at all, actually, in the qualifying session. Red flag, then P9 to P4 between race 1 and race 2, and starting aggressively on the outside in order to convert this race win. Let's hear from Edu Guedes.
Fiquei para trás e depois acabei me recuperando.
Com esse público maravilhoso, fica melhor ainda, né, Edu?
Nossa, demais, é muito emocionante, né? Antes da largada estava bem concentrado. E, nossa, ver tudo lotado assim é demais.
Emocionadinho. A quem você dedica essa vitória, Edu?
Para Maria, para Jaque, que estão aí acompanhando, estão ali. Para todo mundo que veio prestigiar a gente aqui. Para o Bruno, o Elcio, o Pedrinho, sem eles eu não conseguiria ganhar também.
Trabalho de equipe. Parabéns. Corre, pode não limitar, você está aqui preso comigo.
Yeah, an emotional Edu Guedes, saying that he had an incident there in the beginning of the race, but he was able to bounce back. A good recovery race, and then culminating in the class win for him. Of course, dedicating the victory to his family present in this Interlagos track. And just going back a bit to Miguel Paludo's interview, Sergio, he also complained a bit about Alceu Feldman's aggressive defending ahead of the first turn there, the first leg of the Sina S's, that left-hander right after the main straight, but eventually he was able to prevail, got the best racing line there, and even though his car was a bit compromised, he was able to hold Marçal Miller, and of course also dedicating his victory to his family in the US, as we see the podium of the main Carreira class with Lucas Salles and Raijan Mascarello joining Marçal Miller and Nicolas Costa, Sergio.
Yes, Patricia is Miguel Paludo's wife, and Oliver is a race kart kart driver, go-kart driver. He's trying to follow his father's footsteps, Carlos. So that's we see him. I follow his Instagram account, and he is working really hard. He has very good results. There he is, Miguel Paludo, commemorating his victory. He ended up first in the second race of the weekend. Marçal Miller was second, Nicolas Costa, Lucas Salles, and Raijan Mascarello were the top 5. And we should have soon the podium for the sports class, then the rookie class, and then we will have the stake connected to us. We will have the race of sprint challenge, as we see there, Miguel Paludo's engineer on the left, and Rick Brandt, the owner of Brandt, on the right side, as Miguel Paludo exits the car and gets there the compliments. That's from Dene Pires, Carlos. So it shows the importance of this moment that he gets the record. And this is, we have Lucas Salles there atop the charts. Then in second, in the sport class, it was Raijan Mascarello. Then third, Roman Zinkiewicz. In fourth, Lineu Pires. And in fifth, Nelson Marcondes. So Nelson Marcondes is in your right-hand side. That was number 3. That was Roman Zinkiewicz. That's Raijan Mascarello, who started on pole position, had a few incidents, but ended up second in his class and 5th overall. And then is Lucas Salles, who Carlos increases. For sure, he leads in the sports class, Carreira Cup Sports Class Championship.
Yeah, definitely. More points to the season leader so far. One of the most consistent drivers of these intermediate classes that we have in the Porsche Carreira Cup Championship. Of course, we have the guys from the main dispute. We're talking about the likes of Paludo, Miller, Costa, also Neugbauer and Feldman, but Salles is always there ahead of his pack, the sport class drivers, of course, and from time to time even fighting with the main class drivers. Now, a clean race, we saw that he started behind Raijan Mascarello, for example, also Peter Ferter, but he always manages to be out of trouble in the majority of the races. Sometimes it happens with him, of course. All of the drivers are subject to incidents and crashes, but Salles is a very intelligent driver in that matter as well, and consistent, especially, which is important in such a competitive series as is Porsche Brazil. And we saw him celebrating with his pit crew. And now the rookie class podium with just 3 drivers, because we had retirements throughout race 2. There, Paulo Souza, the second, in this yellow and green overall. Of course, Edu Guedes is the class winner, and Nasser Aboutaif in the gray overall there.
Yeah, so we have only the 3 drivers there, as you mentioned, Carlos. And I believe at this point, the cars for the sprint challenge must be already on the track, or ready to hit the track, because we see the podium, but things are moving there. And you see Edu Guedes, who also is going to open his leadership in the championship for the rookie class, as he takes advantage there of he overtakes there. We saw him overtaking Paulo Souza. That's Edu Guedes. Nice work for him. He's having a great year, Carlos.
Yeah, indeed. We have to praise Edu Guedes driving this season. Also an aggressive driver, but knows how to mix this aggressiveness with, let's put, management of the race. We see that sometimes his class rivals, such as Bruno Campos, even Gustavo Farah, they are also aggressive, and they can overtake and so on, but they are more frequently involved in crashes or incidents, and that obviously compromises the championship standings, as we see the situation of the Porsche Sprint Challenge season as well, with Marcelo Tomazoni leading, Sergio.
Yeah, and the cars are already on the track. Marcelo Tomazoni is 8 points ahead of Christian Moore. Christian Moore finished ahead of him yesterday, but Marcelo Tomassoni will start ahead of Christian Moore. He's starting the first row, as you see, alongside Miguel Mariotti. Then we have Gustavo Zanon and Christian Moore, who will be right behind Marcelo Tomassoni. Then Antonella Bassani and Eduardo Taurissano, who won the race yesterday. Then we have Sadak Leite and Josimar Jr. on the fourth row. Behind him, Ramon Alcaraz and Célio Brasil. Great race yesterday by Célio Brasil in the rookie class, top 10. Paulo Totaro and Seba Malucelli. Then we have Eric Santos and Sang Joaquin on the seventh row. Behind them, we have Walter Lester and Carlos Campos. And then in the ninth row, we have Luis Souza and Artur Ramos. Behind them, Marco Tulio and Israel Salman. And then in the finishing the top 22, the 22 cars who are going to start, Américo Lanzoni and Urubatan Jr., who got a penalty yesterday. It was not considered his result. Urubatan Jr., who's been involved in many incidents this year, Carlos.
Yeah, a fast driver. We saw him last year, at least with consistent results, always close to the top 3 in the championship standings. But yesterday he was involved in an incident with Artur Ramos. Eventually there was a protest to the stewards, and he was disqualified, so that's why he starts last. Let's see if he manages to get a good recovery race, and in a moment we'll have green flag.
On your right side will be pole position Miguel Mariotti with the green Porsche. Marcelo Tomassoni with a gray Porsche will be on your left side right at the start. And behind them, there will be Gustavo Zanon and Christian Moore. These are the top 4 starting the race. Red lights are on. We are going to soon have the start of the race. Lights are off and it's green, green, green. Let's pay attention. Miguel Mariotti on your right side. Side by side with Marcelo Tomassoni. Let's see if Marcelo Tomassoni is able to get first position. Gets good position, Marcelo Tomassoni. He is first. Miguel Mariotti loses and gets second position. And it seems to me on the third position is that Antonella Bassani. No,
Yes.
I think it's Antonella Bassani. Great start by Antonella Bassani. No, let me confirm, Carlos. Yeah, it's her.
That's her.
Great start. She started from 5th. He is third now. She's third now, I mean. And she's right behind Miguel Mariotti. She's pressuring Miguel Mariotti. We know she's a very aggressive driver, very young driver, and a talent that will be following her career from now on. There she goes on the outside, trying to get Miguel Mariotti. And then we have, I believe, it's Gustavo Zanon in 4th place. So it was not a good start for Christian Moore.
Not at all, which is, of course, awful for him in terms of the championship pretensions, especially when you see Marcelo Tomassoni leading. Whoa, Carlos Campos. Some touch there. Let's see.
I think he lost it alone.
Alone.
He hits the tire barrier. Let's hope it doesn't bring the safety car. We had 2 safety cars. Wow, that was totally alone. Either something happened to the car or he committed a big mistake, Carlos.
Yeah, I don't know if he went full throttle before the right moment and then lost control of the car, but he was completely alone. Whoa, Antonella.
Antonella for second position over Miguel Mariotti. She has the best position, and there she is, second place, right behind Marcelo Tomassoni, who leads the championship. We see rescue work being there. It was not the car that hit the barrier.
Américo Lanzoni, I think.
Américo Lanzoni, wow.
Yeah.
Best lap from Marcelo Tomassoni. Go ahead, Carlos.
No, just interesting to mention, because even though Christian Moore lost ground, Antonella Bassani is right behind Marcelo Tomassoni, who set the fastest lap time so far. He's the season leader, but the gap between them is not that big. So if Antonella attacks, then we might have an interesting fight for the title as well. And let's see if Moore is able to recuperate. So far behind sport class drivers Gustavo Zanon with an interesting weekend, by the way, and Sadaki Leite. They are both trying to get closer to Antonio Junqueira, the class leader that is missing this round. Interesting race also by Eduardo Taurizano that is increasing his pressure on Christian Moore.
Yeah, we saw there Christian Moore fell to the 6th position. And Eduardo Taurizano, as you mentioned, Carlos, is right behind him. Let's see how Eduardo Taurizano will be able to advance. He was the winner yesterday of the race. As we see, Marcelo Tomassoni with a gap of 9/10 of a second over the Antonella Bassani, and Antonella Bassani putting a 1-second gap over Miguel Mariotti. Miguel Mariotti has lots of cars behind him trying to get his position. First on the line is Gustavo Zanon, who's be doing a very nice season. And look at Taurizano. Taurizano trying to get the position. Best lap by Antonella Bassani, Carlos.
Yeah, she's cutting the gap there. Of course, we are talking about a young, aggressive, the only female driver already, a race winner, actually the first woman to win in Porsche Cup Brazil, but if I'm not wrong, 17 years old, sorry. But Marcelo Tomassoni is a very experienced driver. On the other hand, has raced in stocks in Brazil, so knows how to defend. But if her pace is way superior, then he will not be able to defend his position, as Gustavo Zanon also approaches Miguel Mariotti, and as you said, Eduardo Taurizano attacks Christian Moore. But let's take a good look to the lap times of especially Tomassoni and Antonella Bassani.
Yeah, Taurizano actually, Carlos, already overtook Christian Moore, and he's now behind Sadaka Leite. There you see, that's the black Porsche there behind the number 66. That's when he overtook Christian Moore, and he's on the move. He's on the move.
Yeah, I believe it was ahead of that intermediate sector, the most technical sector, as now he attacks Sadaki Leite. What a moment.
Exactly, right behind Sadaki Leite, going to the S of Senna. He has the inside position over Sadaki Leite, and he will get the position, I believe. Yeah, he got the position from Sadaki Leite, and now he's going after Gustavo Zanon.
What Taurizano is doing is impressive, Sergio. I'm still a bit shocked, to be honest.
Yeah. He's right behind Gustavo Zanon there. I don't think it will be this time, but he'll probably get some position there. We see Ramon Alcaraz ahead of Seba Malucelli. Ramon Alcaraz with number 57, very aggressive there.
Attacking Josimar Jr.
Yeah.
And that's a fight between Eric Santos, Luis Souza, I believe, and Marco Tulio. I think so. Because Carlos Campos' car, if I'm not wrong, was wrecked and Americo Lanzoni retired. Yeah, yes. It's Walter Lester ahead of them. That's it.
And look again, Taurizano over Gustavo Zanon. Oh, that might bring him a problem. He spans Eduardo Zanon. Wow. Gustavo Zanon, I mean. Not Eduardo. It's Eduardo Taurizano and Gustavo Zanon. He tried on the inside. Maybe he forced it too much there, Carlos. Maybe he'll get a penalty for that.
Yeah, what the stewards have to evaluate is if Gustavo Zanon closed the door also too aggressively, because they are quite close to the grass there. So it's a mix of factors there, even though, of course, Taurizano was way too aggressive maybe in order to overtake Gustavo Zanon. But there we see Eduardo Taurizano now attacking Miguel Mariotti. To be honest, I thought that Zanon closed the door a bit too aggressively there. But the stewards will take a look into that incident and look at Taurizano already attacking Mariotti. Imagine if he overtakes Mariotti, which seems to be the case, and then attacks Antonella and then gets a penalty.
It looked easy. It was easy. Eduardo Taurizano gets third position from Miguel Mariotti. Yeah, the thing about that incident, I would say, Carlos, that he could have been a little bit more patient because he has the speed. It was a question of time and not a long time. He was he was going to able to overtake soon Gustavo Zanon, and maybe waiting a little, maybe being a little bit too aggressive there. He opened the opportunity to be penalized. Let's wait and see what of course, the stewards will decide. And Antonella Bassani is getting closer to Marcelo Tomassoni, but she soon will have to pay attention to Eduardo Taurissano, who overtook Antonella Bassani for first position yesterday. He had a great race, and even though the difference now, the gap is of almost 2 seconds, I believe, Carlos, that Eduardo Taurissano will be able to get close to Antonella Bassani and pressure her. He's already getting closer. We can see that just not by looking at the time, but at looking the visual, we can see that Eduardo Taurissano is getting close, and we still have 16 minutes plus 1 lap to go.
Yeah, the question is, will Antonella be able to attack and pass Marcelo Tomassoni before Taurissano arrives? That's a big factor in this moment when we think about the fight for the race win. And regarding Taurissano's, I would say, behavior in that incident, I completely agree with you, Sergio. And independently of potential penalty or so on, the fact is that he lost time because, of course, Zanon spun, but he had to go off track in order to avoid anything worse. So independently of a penalty, the fact is Taurissano lost time, and he could have been a little bit more patient considering his pace. And there we see the sectors comparison between the 3 front runners in this moment.
Antonella Bassani is getting closer to Marcelo Tomassoni, battle for first position, but we saw there that Eduardo Taurissano got the best lap of the race so far. So he's definitely approaching Antonella Bassani. So we're having a nice battle there for first position, I would say, Carlos. Very interesting battle. And look at Antonella Bassani for the first position. Antonella Bassani on the entrance of S of Senna, but she loses, and Eduardo Taurissano is able to close the gap to the first 2 drivers, to the first 2 Porsches. Eduardo Taurissano right now is right behind Antonella Bassani. He might go for second position. He is trying to win the race today. And Taurissano, wow, he is second already, and he's going after Marcelo Tomassoni. I would be worried if I were Marcelo Tomassoni, Carlos. Very worried.
Yeah, but the fact is that Tomassoni's defensive maneuver there was spectacular as well.
Yes.
Look at that. Very nice to watch. Actually, Antonella braked a little bit too late, of course. Maybe also thinking about defending her position. So I believe she thought about overtaking Tomassoni as soon as possible in order to fend off any attack by Taurissano. And then the problem would be with Tomassoni, but she committed a mistake. And now Taurissano goes for the lead. He's very fast and his pace is very good as well.
Let's see if it's now that Eduardo Taurissano gets the first position from Marcelo Tomassoni. And Antonella Bassani loses a little bit of ground there on the 3rd position. Yes, maybe she tried it too early. And look at that, Taurissano trying on the inside. Not yet. And there he is on the inside. Eduardo Taurissano, wow! That's how impressive. With 12 minutes of racing, he's already in the first position. He was the winner yesterday, and it seems like he is going to do main pole position, Carlos. Victory race 1, victory race 2. This guy is really impressing by his start in the Porsche Cup family here in Brazil. He is doing a really, really nice work.
And I think your prediction yesterday, Sergio, will happen. The guy started 2023 in the school category as Porsche Sprint Trophy, promoted to the main class of Porsche Sprint Challenge, and maybe next year already in one of the classes, the intermediate classes probably, of Porsche Carrera Cup. Of course, there are financial matters to solve as well, but in terms of performance, what this guy is doing is quite impressive. Let's see if there's any penalty to him, as we now see once more Gustavo Zanon, that was involved in an incident with Taurisano overtaking Célio Brasil, but independently of a penalty or something like that, his pace is the main thing, apart from the results themselves, as Sadak Leite and Mor now try to get closer and closer to Miguel Mariotti. Imagine if this guy was racing in the beginning of the season, so he possibly would be one of the title contenders as well, even though we have to praise his development throughout this months of Porsche Brazil, including Porsche Sprint Trophy as well.
And look at Sadak Leite. Remember that Sadak Leite is from the sport class. He goes over Miguel Mariotti. Great work by Sadak Leite. Gets the 4th position. And a little bit disappointing for me, Carlos, is this third driver, this third car we saw that just went off screen. It's Christian Moore. Christian Moore had a great race yesterday, but right now he seems stuck in 6th place. So he's not being able. Sadak Leite overtook Miguel Mariotti. Then we see Christian Moore, and behind Christian Moore, we saw the number 57 of Ramon Alcaraz a little bit behind.
Yeah, and there we see a replay of the battle in the back of the pack there. Marco Tulio and Eric Santos, rookie class drivers. Marco Tulio went a bit wide and lost position after overtaking, in a similar situation to what we saw between Bassani and Marcelo Tomazzoni, but in another point of the track. In the CNSs, that's quite common, and now we see another fight in the middle of the pack. We see there Artur Ramos, Israel Salman. I believe it is the car number 71 ahead of them.
San Joaquin, yes, San Joaquin.
And that's him, the South Korean driver. A very interesting race in this sprint challenge race to Sergio, especially ahead of the pack, and also considering the recovery races that we are seeing. Even though Antonella Bassani lost a bit of ground, we have to remember that she gained positions compared to her grid position. So throughout the whole pack, very action-packed race, and that includes overtaking maneuvers, aggressive defending maneuvers as well, and crashes and so on. Another overtaking there.
That's number 100 of Seba Malucelli. That's battle there for 8th position, I believe. Yeah, Seba Malucelli got ahead of Josimar Jr., so he got the 8th position. That's a great battle there. We see Seba Malucelli, and now we see San Joaquin getting the position from Josimar Jr. Josimar Jr. losing 2 positions, not a good moment for him in the race. With 9 minutes to go, Eduardo Taurisano leads with over 2 seconds ahead of this driver there in the number 5, which is Marcelo Tomassoni, who leads the championship, and Antonella Bassani is coming in 3rd. So this has been a good race for Antonella Bassani, Carlos, to approach 2nd in the championship, but not in the battle for the championship, as she's behind the championship leader Marcelo Tomassoni.
Yeah, and then she has to think if it's worthy an attack, of course, thinking about overtaking Marcelo Tomazzoni, because is the objective grab P2 in the championship standings or try to fight for the title? I believe she still has time to attack, even though Marcelo Tomazzoni is a very wise driver, as we saw when he got back his position ahead of Antonella. But anyway, it would be important for her to overtake him, thinking about title pretensions. And so far, so good for Marcelo Tomazzoni. Even though he's 2nd and was passed by Taurisano, he has to think about his title rivals. Taurisano, as we explained, started his Porsche Sprint Challenge campaign only last round in Goiânia. He missed the Interlagos season opener and also the 2nd round at Velocitar.
There we have the Célio Brasil Célio Brasil is in the rookie class. He had a great race yesterday. Right now, he's in the 12th position, but he is the leader of the rookie class ahead of Paulo Totaro. He's way ahead of Paulo Totaro. We see the highlight of Célio Brasil. So he is doing a great season so far. He won rookie class yesterday, and he's on his way to win rookie class today as well. With 8 minutes to go, we have all the highlights on him. Eduardo Taurissano now has a commanding lead of almost 3 seconds over Marcelo Tomassoni, and Antonella Bassani stays under 1 second behind Marcelo Tomassoni, but she's not being able to overtake. As we see now, the number 7 of Luis Souza, he's in the 17th position. He is in the rookie class, and he's already of Eric Santos. Here's Antonella Bassani. And now, Carlos, we see that she, look at that, for the first position. Something happened to Eduardo Taurissano. It seems like because he lost lots of ground there in just one lap. And we have again Marcelo Tomassoni leading the pack in Interlagos. Very interesting, Carlos.
Let's see the replay. Weird, because this shows the overtaking maneuver. We have to know why he lost that big advantage that he had, more than 2 seconds. So we have to see if it was a driving mistake, which is the most likely situation, or something with the car. It doesn't seem to be something with the car, because he now tries to get back the lead position after losing it to Marcelo Tomassoni. And we see that Antonella Bassani isn't that close to Eduardo Taurissano. So I can assume it was a driving mistake from Eduardo Taurissano that allowed Marcelo Tomassoni to catch up and then overtake. But I didn't see at least anything on the images, Sergio. I don't know if you saw something with Eduardo Taurissano.
No, we didn't see anything. But let's see, he's being able to stay right behind Marcelo Tomassoni, Eduardo Taurissano, with less than 5 minutes to go plus 1 lap. Let's see if it was a driver mistake. If it was a driver mistake, he might be able to fight again for the first position, Carlos. Or it might be something about tire management, maybe, Maybe he didn't manage that well his tires. His tires are, having somewhere. Let's listen to Renata.
Isso está fazendo ele perder de velocidade. Então, uma coisa pra gente ficar de olho aí, por conta dessa passagem que pode acontecer.
Yeah, it seems that it's an issue with the car. We have to remember also that Taurissano had that touch with Gustavo Zanon. So maybe that compromised the radiator or something like that, which might explain a loss of performance. But as far as we see, he's been able to attack quite aggressively, actually, Marcelo Tomassoni. So maybe also an issue with tire management and a particular driving mistake in one of the corners, one of the turns. So that allowed Tomassoni to catch up and overtake. But there's still a lot of time to come. So we still have a good fight for the race win. And if they lose a lot of time battling against each other, Marcelo and Eduardo, Antonella will get closer and closer.
Yes, and it seems she's getting closer. We saw him attacking. That's the touch you mentioned, Carlos, with Gustavo Zanon right at the beginning of the race. And that might have caused him an issue with his car now. Let's see if he's able to attack again Marcelo Tomassoni. And we see from the aerial view, it's quite clear there. No penalties have been issued. So I think we are good with the situation. I would assume at this point, Carlos, that the race stewards decided it was a racing incident.
Yeah, sadly, we don't have the confirmation of any interpretation as Taurissano attacks once more.
There he is, and for the first position, Taurissano again gets the first position. So it looks like Carlos might have been a driver mistake, as you pointed first, because his car is okay. He gets again the position from Marcelo Tomassoni. He is the new leader, and we see Antonella Bassani a little bit behind them in third position. Antonella Bassani has been able to keep the pace, but not to get close to Marcelo Tomassoni to fight for position there.
Yeah, apart from that, attacking the first leg of the Sina S's, and after she lost position once more, she hasn't been able to put the car side by side with Tomazzoni in order to attempt any overtaking maneuver there. Let's see this final stages of the race, because then tire management might be an issue, but in theory, a more experienced driver has a better management, a better control of this factor. But anyway, Antonella is a very intelligent driver as well. We saw that, by the way, in yesterday's race, but it seems Taurisano's pace is okay, as we pointed, so I believe it was indeed a driving mistake there that allowed Tomazzoni to catch up and overtake, but his pace, Eduardo's in this case, is too strong. Throughout the whole weekend, we have to remember that this guy got pole position yesterday morning and won in the first race as well. So what a weekend. And talking once more about a possible penalty for him because of that incident with Gustavo Zanon. If the stewards think it was a racing incident, then a good thing for the broadcast, for us and for people at home as well, would be that they informed that it was a racing incident, like we have in Formula 1, for example, no further action or something like that.
We are in the final laps of the second race of this weekend for the Sprint Challenge category of Porsche Cup Brazil. There we see number 88. Let's see in which position he is. It's the driver Eduardo Taurisano. Actually, he's first. And he is first there. That's the detail for him. And he opened a big gap again to Marcelo Tomassoni, Carlos. So we have 8 seconds to go. Let's see if he crosses the line before this. It's 2 laps now. So yes, you cross the line almost like the same way it happened with the Carrera Cup. The 25 minutes expired right before the driver was close to the start-finish line. So we are going for the last lap now, and in the Sprint Challenge category.
Yeah, and as you said, open a bit of a gap, not that much, but I believe enough to secure his race win if he doesn't make any driving mistake. But Tomazzoni seems to have settled also for second, which is good for him because he's ahead of Antonella Bassani and Christian Moore, his main title rivals. And when we look to the rest of the pack, nice to see also the fights actually in the other classes. Good result so far for Sadaki Leite in the sport class, and in the rookie class once more Célio Brasil shining. A very good weekend actually for Célio. Let's see if they confirm their race victories and Taurisano cruises to the checkered flag.
Yeah, Sadaki Leite is a great work by Sadaki Leite. He's way ahead of Miguel Mariotti and Christian Moore, who are from the main Sprint Challenge category, and Sadaki Leite is from the sport class. He is having a very interesting season, and right now he runs 4th, so very good results for him. We are getting close to the checkered flag. Last turns in Interlagos, going the way up to the main straight. Eduardo Taurisano, he is going to get his second victory of the weekend, which is not very common for a driver to get 2 victories in the same weekend because of the inversion of the grid. But Eduardo Taurisano showed talent enough to get his second victory, and there he goes. Eduardo Taurisano wins the second race in Interlagos of this weekend. His second race also in the weekend. He won the first race with Marcelo Tomassoni in second, Antonella Bassani in third, then Sadaki Leite, Miguel Mariotti, Christian Moore in sixth, Ramon Alcaraz, Seba Malucelli, Sang Joaquim, and Arthur Ramos finishing the top 10, and Célio Brasil won in the rookie class. Eduardo Taurisano, main winner, is the challenge, Sprint Challenge main category. but Sadak Leite was the winner of the sports class, and Célio Brasil also won the rookie class, the same he did yesterday. The difference that Célio Brasil yesterday finished 10th, and this race he finished 12th overall.
And what a race, important result for this guy that we just saw on screen. Sorry, Sadak Leite, because he gets closer to Antonio Junqueira, the sport class leader that is missing this Interlagos round. And as you very well pointed, Sergio, very good job also because he fought with the guys from the main sprint challenge class. Célio Brasil in a very dominant weekend, pole sitter in his class, won yesterday, and now one more race win this Sunday. So in a way, he was able to do the same thing that Taurizano did, but in theory, a less competitive class. But anyway, he has done his job very well, as did Eduardo Taurizano, that I believe is the most important name of this sprint challenge round that we just had at Interlagos. Let's see if there's any penalty, but so far so good for Eduardo after that incident with Gustavo Zanon, which I think is okay. If that's the case, I agree, because it was, in my view, a recent incident. Indeed, Zanon actually was quite aggressive when closing the door there, and touches happen, but anyway, we always have to wait and confirm. But even if he has a penalty, Sergio, his performance this weekend has been astounding. We have to praise what this guy is doing. Only his second round in this main sprint challenge class. Once more, we highlight that he comes from the school category of Porsche Sprint Trophy that uses cars that were, in a way, already retired in the beginning of last year. So they have these cars that were used until the end of the penultimate season in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Championship to this Porsche Sprint Trophy school category. Of course, we have in the Porsche Carrera Cup the new 992 generation of cars. Now the Porsche Sprint Challenge uses the old cars from the Porsche Carrera Cup, so the 991-2. We have something like 10 horsepower of power difference between the cars, but of course technology, transmission, gearbox and so on makes difference in terms of lap times, as we have been seeing throughout this whole weekend and season. And Eduardo Taurizano, maybe in a period of 1 year, he will drive 3 different cars. Let's see if he gets promoted. And of course, there's still 2 more rounds to come, so let's see if he manages to keep this pace until the end of the season. And we have to praise also this guy, Sadak Leite. What a weekend, and especially Célio Brasil, maybe as well worthy of a class promotion, maybe driving in the sport class division, if you can say so, next year. So very nice weekend. The Porsche Sprint Challenge races were very eventful. The Porsche Carrera Cup ones as well. And I highlight, Sergio, when we have, as it was the case yesterday, a good race, even when it finishes behind a safety car, it was the case. So this championship, the Sprint Challenge Championship, is as interesting as the Carrera Cup, that is theoretically the most competitive one, which just shows how well organized the series is, the level of drivers, and that is also valid for the Porsche Sprint Trophy, especially now that Taurizano is not competing, because when he was there, we could expect race wins for him every round, but now that's not the case, as we see the drivers getting a little bit of fresh air. We know that these cockpits are hot and so on, but what a round, and the expectation for Termas and Rio Hondo is quite good as well. Let's hear the interview.
Ninguém sabe a dificuldade de dentro do carro.
Não, fácil nunca é, até porque estamos no meio de muitos pilotos aí profissionais e que estão aqui já com grande experiência.
Agora, me conta uma coisa. Qual é o segredo de você estar tão rápido? Você estava muito rápido, cara. Tava todo mundo passando pelas boxes e dizendo assim, cara, o Taurizano tá rápido demais.
Nem eu sei te responder isso, porque eu sou estreante na categoria e a única forma que eu treino é no simulador e o resto eu acho que é o dom mesmo.
Agora conta da dificuldade principal dentro do carro. A gente sabe do alerta, a questão da refrigeração.
Primeiro eu tive um aquecimento da água. na verdade, a pressão de água e depois foi a temperatura do óleo. Então, eu precisei dosar o pé ali, eu acabei tirando e perdendo as posições, mas pensei e deu certo no final.
Agora sobe o pódio, estão esperando lá, vai demorar mais uma sua segunda no final de semana. Luque?
And now, Taurizano talked about the issues that he had in that moment, and we lost a bit of pace, and then Tomazoni was able to overtake. Eventually, Taurizano got back to the lead position and won, but he said that he had issues with the water pressure and oil temperature, so that's why he was managing his pace, but eventually managed a bit too much, lost position, the lead position, but he was able to reclaim the lead position there in order to win. And he said that he doesn't know why he's so fast, which is fun, but he highlighted the level of his rivals, and he said that he's always working hard on sim racing in order to improve, and that's the moment to celebrate. But when we were talking about what might have happened, then we have information about water pressure and oil temperature. Sergio.
Yes, I was looking at the standings, Carlos, and Eduardo Taurizano started his race in 17th position, even though he lost the first 4 races of the season. And with 25 points that he gets now, he will get pretty much, I would say, to the 11th position, probably, maybe 12th position. But it will be either 11th or 12th position. No, actually 12th or 13th position. It will depend, but he will advance a lot. And that's very interesting because we just wonder if he had started the championship, if he would not be fighting for the lead now with Marcelo Tomassoni. Also on the standings, Antonella Bassani was able to approach Christian Moore in the battle for second position, but both of them lost ground to Marcelo Tomassoni, who leads the championship, because Marcelo Tomassoni finished second in the race. Antonella Bassani finished third, and second place right now in the standings, Christian Moore finished in the 6th position, but that was not enough for Antonella Bassani to be ahead of Christian Moore, but she got closer. Definitely, she got closer to Christian Moore, and she'll be contending at least for the runner-up position in the championship, as we see now the standing, the podium, with 5th place was Miguel Mariotti. We see him on your right-hand side. Then on your left side, we see Sadak Leite. Great work for him. He's talking to Marcelo Tomassoni, who was second. And then on your right side, second there, we see Antonella Bassani. And then, of course, the winner, which was Eduardo Taurizano. Carlos, a great podium there. They waiting to get their deserved prize.
And nice to see how varied this grid is. Of course, high level, but you have a guy that is returning to competitive racing, that is Eduardo Taurizano, already performing a lot. Now chatting a bit with Antonella Bassani. You have the only female driver of this grid, the very first woman to win races in Porsche Brasil, 17 years old Antonella Bassani. A guy that is a little bit more experienced, Marcelo Tomassoni, leading the championship, maybe managing his advantage in order to get this title, even though he wasn't able to manage that much today. He was under pressure. Sadaki Leite with a very good round. We have to praise what he did. So very nice to see his presence on this overall podium as well. We have Miguel Mariotti completing the top 5 there. And it's very nice that we have, even though we have a high level of competitiveness, we have this nice environment, drivers talking to each other, greeting each other after the races, and I believe, talking about the incidents, the overtaking maneuvers, the fights throughout the whole pack, as we see now one more time the Visit Argentina feature. We have to remember we have the next sprint championship round at Termas de Rio Hondo, September the 2nd, the fourth time that Porsche Cup Brazil visits the Santiago del Estero province, the track that receives the Argentinian Grand Prix of MotoGP. One of the most important circuits in Latin America, I would say, a very wide circuit that allows a lot of overtaking maneuvers. So good expectation for this September the 2nd sprint round of the Porsche Cup 2023 season. And then September the 10th, we'll have the endurance race as well, as we see Tauri-san sliding a bit there. Nice image. But we'll have the 300 kilometers of Termas de Rio Hondo in the endurance series championship of Porsche Brazil. We had the season opener at Interlagos, and then the season ends also at this circuit, Autódromo José Carlos Patti, as we call in Brazil, with the 500 kilometers race. And now we see the podium of the sport class.
Sport class, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw Sadaka Leite. We see Sadaka Leite on top there. Number one, he was the winner. Second place was Ramon Alcaraz in the sport class. Then Seba Malucelli, Sango Joaquim, and Artur Ramos. These were the top 5 in the sports class category, and commemorating there, very well deserved for Sadaka Leite. He was 4th overall, great position for Sadaka Leite. He got 4 positions in the grid from the start. So it was a very, very, very good race for him. In the challenge sport, he's second behind Antonio Junqueira, and I believe with this victory, Carlos, he got really close to Antonio Junqueira, or he even surpassed Antonio Junqueira, who didn't participate in this round. Gustavo Zanon, which was third starting this race, he didn't get a good result due to a touch he got in the beginning of the race. He finished 11th. Renato.
E aí eu vim aqui com o desafio grande recuperar o campeonato. Deu muito certo. A corrida foi excelente. Estou muito feliz.
Parabéns, agora só comemorar.
Só. Termas agora.
Agora é Termas. A gente viu na Argentina. Valeu, Sadak. Parabéns, Luque.
Yeah, just a quick word there from Sadaka Leite, anxious with a good expectation for Termas de Rio Hondo. And actually, Sergio, he's leading now the sport class, 1 point ahead of Antonio Junqueira. So very nice championship situation in the sport class as well. And nice to mention also a good round for Ramon Alcaraz, 2 podiums for him. This time as we now see the rookie class podium with Célio Brasil leading the way, Sergio.
Yeah, that's Célio Brasil holding his trophy. Second in rookie class was Paulo Totaro, as he was yesterday, the same position he got, second in the rookie class. Then in third, Marco Tulio. In fourth, Luis Souza. And in fifth, it was Eric Santos that we see on your right side there, Eric Santos. So these were the top 5 in the rookie class for the Sprint Challenge race. And Carlos, again, we'll have more now, but in Portuguese. But if you want to follow, it's a nice category of the up-and-coming drivers. And we've had very interesting races, and it will be in our Porsche Cup Brazil YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's it. The Brazilian Portuguese broadcast of Porsche Sprint Trophy. We highlighted a lot Eduardo Tauri-san this weekend, and he came from this school category that is Porsche Sprint Trophy. So that's it, the Brazilian broadcast in our YouTube channel, Porsche Cup Brazil. If you want to search, let's hear from Célio Brasil.
Mais concentração, mais ritmo, enfim, preservando os outros pilotos das categorias também. Fiz um passeio, mas não desmerecendo os outros competidores. Realmente eu fiquei num espaço confortável, consegui ganhar ritmo já no início. Então foi muito bom. E tem uma galera que os mineiros, tem São Paulo, tem de todo lado, então essa vai pra eles, vai pra Papai do Céu também, claro. Mas agradecer a turma que tá aqui hoje e quem tá acompanhando também. Obrigado.
Valeu, Célio, parabéns. Luque,
I'm very happy Célio Brasil highlighting the presence of his friends on the Minas Gerais state, also the São Paulo State people that are joining him for this Interlagos round. And all of these people, they brought luck to Célio Brasil, 2 class wins this weekend. And what a celebration day, especially this Sunday, because then tomorrow he doesn't have to race, so he can drink a bit, enjoy the champagne, and so on.
There we have again images from Argentina. Next round will be in Termas de Rio Hondo. In the first weekend of September, we have the sprint races. And then the following weekend, the second weekend of September, we'll have the endurance race. We had very interesting races there last year. And we expect no less from this 2023 season. Always a good passage through Argentina with the Termas de Rio Hondo, as we see again, championship leader of Sprint Challenge, Marcelo Tomassoni, who finished second in this race. That's it. That's all for today. Thank you all very much for being with us here doing this broadcast. See you again. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.